Hey BookTube, this is my August wrap-up. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and normally I do a wrap-up at the end of every week with Friday Reads. I'll talk about what I've read previously that week and then what's coming up. And so I've talked about all of these books already. I've done kind of mini reviews on them, but I thought I'd go back and look at all of August in total and just kind of recap and let you know what I rated these books and a quick just word or two about what I thought of them. So I'm going to start off with The Light We Lost by Jill Santopoulos. This was narrated by the author and I hated it. I gave it 1 star. If I could have given it less, I would have. It was terrible. It was women's fiction / romance and a complete waste of my time. The Stone Sky is book 3 in the Broken Earth series by N.K. Jemison. It was narrated by Robin Miles. It was amazingly narrated. I could not say enough about Robin Miles. I mean, if I had the rest of all eternity, it would not be enough to rave about how great this woman is as a narrator. She's fantastic. I ended up giving the book 4 stars, and I would highly recommend that series. Again, that's the Broken Earth series, and the books in it are the 5th season, The Obelisk Gate, and The Stone Sky. Fallen Air is book 4 in the Royals series by Erin Watt. I read this as an ebook and I gave it 2 stars. It left a little to be desired. Aftershock by Jill Shalvis is one of her earlier Harlequin Blaze novels, and I read that as an ebook, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. Wife by Wednesday is by Bybee. It was narrated on audio by Tanya Eby, and it is book 1 in the Weekday Bride series. It was kind of cute, kind of cheesy. Tanya Eby was pretty good, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. Blood of Dragons is by Jack Campbell. It is book 2 in the Legacy of Dragons series and was narrated by MacLeod Andrews. Such a pleasure to listen to. Had a few problems with this main character, but overall I gave it 4.5 stars, rounded down to 4. And I love the series. It's a follow-up series to a different series, and I just can't recommend them enough. They're so good. They're really, really worth reading, and they are YA fantasy. Win Some, Lose Some is by Shay Savage, and I read that as an ebook. That's a book about an autistic boy and a girl, and I loved it. I loved it. It was really well done. I gave it 5 stars. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Gray, the complete series, is by Cadle. That is narrated on audio by Warren Fortgang, and it was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. It is a post-apocalyptic story about 2 characters and what happens to them after an asteroid hits the U.S. Really great story. Very realistic. Specimen by Shay Savage was another ebook that I read. It is a sci-fi story. Interesting ending with that one. It's about super soldiers that are created and the doctors who are attached to them, sort of romantically, at times physically, certainly emotionally, scientifically, mentally. Yeah, you get the idea. I gave it 3 stars. It was a good read. It Started With a Kiss by Marina. Adair was narrated by Renee Raudman, and it is book 1 in the Sequoia Lake series. This was something I got with Kindle Unlimited, and it was fun. I liked it. It was kind of your standard, romance series, first book in the series, that kind of thing. I've read so many of these, and they're all about a 3-star read. They're entertaining, and sometimes you like the characters more than other times, but yeah, it was okay. In the Cards by Jamie Beck was narrated by Amy Rubinate and Will Dameron. Again, this was part of Kindle Unlimited. You can get audiobooks from them, and it's like a library that you borrow the books from. So I gave that one 3 stars. I liked the characters in that one. It was better than not. I would say it's the 3.5 end of 3 stars, but I still rounded it down. The Opposite of Love by Julie Buxbaum is narrated on audio by Ariadne Myers, and I picked this up because I like Julie Buxbaum. This was literary fiction. It is her debut novel, and I hated it. I didn't even finish it. It was just boring and slow, and I didn't like any of it. It just went nowhere. So no, not for me. Something More Than This by Barbie Bohrman was narrated by Meredith Starkman. Again, a sweet little romance, and I loved it. I really did. I liked the characters with that one and gave it 3 stars. The Last Girl by Jo Hart is book 1 in the Dominion series, and it was narrated on audio by Dara Rosenberg. I DNF'd this because I felt like it had evil people for evil's sake. Like, there was no reason for some of these people to be awful the way that they were. It was about a world where a virus has gone through and killed like 98% of the women. So the women that are left are kept in a compound to protect them, as it were. And so they're like in prison. And so some of the people that are there to guard them hate them. And it didn't make any sense as to why. You would think that they would value these women above all else. And so it was about a young girl, and you know, she teetered on the edge of other girls hating her and guards hating her. And it was, why? It didn't make any sense, really. And it just got to the point where it was like, it was violent and it was evil, and I just thought, what is the point of this book? Why do I want to read this? I don't. So I DNF'd it. The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson was narrated by Bailey Carr, and I think this was a bit of a disappointment. I expected more out of this book than what I got. I rated it 4 stars, and I gave it basically 3.5 and rounded up, but I think I'm going to round it back down to 3, because the more I think about it, as you know, I get further away from just having read it, the more I think it was cute, it was nice, but it wasn't anything outstanding. And apparently Morgan Matson has written much better books, so I am optimistic about reading other things she's written, but apparently this wasn't an outstanding one. Animate Me by Ruth Clampett was such a pleasure. I read that as an ebook, and I gave it 4 stars. It's about a guy who animates movies, and a woman that he gets involved with, and it was a very sweet story, cute romance. And actually I read it as an ebook, and that was really nice because there are graphics in the actual text that you get to enjoy that you wouldn't if you were listening to it as an audiobook. If You Only Knew by Kristan Higgins was the last book that I had not read of Kristan Higgins, so I'm all caught up with everything she's written that I know of. It was narrated by Amy Rubinate and Exie Sands. Now, Amy Rubinate I am not a huge fan of, but she was okay with this one. I sped her up, and this was the story of 2 sisters, so I really enjoyed it. It was just what I needed at the time, and I gave it 4 stars. And then the other 2 books that I read were both ebooks that I just happen to have on my iPad. I have so many books that I've gotten for free through BookBub, and you know, at times I just kind of do this and I pick one. So I picked up Otherwise Alone by Shay Savage. This is book 1 in the Evan Arden series. And then I also picked up Otherwise Occupied shortly thereafter. Otherwise Alone, these are very short books. They're almost like novellas. Otherwise Alone, I picked up and I gave 2 stars, except that I think I'm going to go back down and round that down to 1. Or change it to 1 star, because it was essentially just this hitman who's stuck in the desert and this girl that stumbles out of nowhere and them having sex. That's it. Shay Savage is known for writing books with a lot of sex in them, and I don't have a problem with that, but there wasn't any point to this. You know, it was like that's all the book was, and I thought, you know, you need to have a little bit of a story for me to really enjoy it. And then I picked up the second book thinking, well, maybe it gets better. No, I got a little ways into it, and I thought, this is pointless. I don't even care about this. So I ended up DNFing that. So that was August. It was some hits, some misses, some 5-star books, some really bad books. And obviously, if you've read any of them, I'd love to know your thoughts. So let me know. We'll talk about it in comments. And that is it for now for me. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.